So I'm here with Tom and Sharad, and we're going to be talking about the new Adobe Lightroom CC as well as Lightroom Classic and some of the other features and things of that you guys have come out with. And it's some exciting stuff so far. Yeah, it's looking very, very nice. So the first question I kind of have for you guys is that, more and more photographers, including myself, were involved in mobile inside of our photography, whether it's shooting itself with our phones, the editing process, or posting to things like Instagram and other social media accounts. So talk about how Lightroom CC is now kind of identifying that issue and working towards solving some of those stress points.
Well, this is a journey we started over 3.5 years ago by creating a version of Lightroom that worked on iOS and Android, because we saw how phones were becoming and tablets were becoming part of the workflow, and so we released this Lightroom with minimal set of editing capabilities and kind of a connection to the desktop that was not all that natural. One of the things we've noticed is that the Lightroom Classic experience is very desktop centric. And so we were creating this link to a mobile workflow and helping photographers connect those dots. And the big shift this week is that we're really doubling down on the fact that photographers don't want to be tied to any one device. And Lightroom CC represents that final piece in the puzzle that says whether you're on a tablet, a phone, or a desktop, all of your images and all your edits are just synced seamlessly across devices. And that helps those scenarios where I'm on a desktop, but I want to post something to Instagram, so there it's already on my phone in Lightroom, or I don't want to take a laptop in the field, I want to use a tablet, but I don't want to have to try and reconcile things later with some kind of export and then import. I just want it to all be in my one library.
Very nice. So part of the system is cloud-based, and so we are including 20 gigs of storage as a part of the basic photography package, which is $9.99.
Correct.
And then you have an additional option for bumping up storage?
Yes. So what we wanted to do is we knew because we were introducing another version of Lightroom on the desktop, there would be some concern, maybe a little confusion given the overlap. So the current Creative Cloud Photography plan remains as is. We're just adding more. There's a brand new version of Lightroom Classic, and we're adding Lightroom CC. The 20 gigs is to say, if you want to give this a try, give it a go, see what it's like to sync between the phone and the desktop. But if you really want to go all in on a cloud-based photo library, a terabyte at $10 a month more can be easily added.
Okay. So from a naming convention, we've actually replaced our old version of Lightroom, which is now Lightroom Classic, with the new Lightroom CC. So is Lightroom being replaced? There's a lot of differences inside of the software, and that's kind of the biggest question going forward for here is what's happening to all of those features, and is all that version with the powerhouse and being able to rename files and all kinds of stuff like that, is that going anywhere?
So part of the decision to rename the existing Lightroom product to Lightroom Classic was the fact that the new version of Lightroom is really making good on our Creative Cloud promise, so we thought it deserved the Lightroom Creative Cloud brand. Lightroom Classic as a traditional desktop workflow is different from that than what we do on iOS, Android, web, or Lightroom CC on the desktop. So that's why we changed that name. We don't want it to be perceived as a lack of investment or a lack of effort with that product. It is very good at what it was designed to do, which is manage files and folders on disk, rename files. All of those desktop local workflows that photographers told us during the first Lightroom public beta back in 2006, we're absolutely going to continue investing in. It's a different team, and we have another team that's building a Lightroom CC that is purely cloud focused. And so that's where you'll see the difference in investments, but they're both moving forward.
Yeah, so tell me about some of those things that are part of the new Lightroom Classic that were not there before.
Feature number 1 and feature number 2 in Lightroom Classic are probably performance. That was a heavily requested feature over the last few years, so that's a subjective topic for a lot of people. So we want customers to give it a try and tell us what's fast enough for them now and what they want to be faster. Fast enough usually never happens, so that's okay. But then editing fidelity, the ability to select certain parts of an image and make an adjustment before was limited to a pretty broad filter that goes across the image or an oval that goes on part of the image. Or you could even brush in parts of the image. Now we can actually select regions in the image based on luminosity. So saying this, I want this lightness value to be adjusted and no other part of the image. Or a more common example would be color range masking, which is, I've got an uneven skyline and mountains and trees, and I just want this blue sky to be affected by dehaze and saturation. And so you can select the color range of the sky, and it will automatically create that mask along the uneven edge. So it's really powerful. And something customers have been asking for a while.
Okay. Now, the great thing is that both are included as a part of the subscription plan, so the old version isn't going anywhere, basically just adding a new piece of software. But let's talk about if there's any integration between the two. So if I have some images in Lightroom Classic now, how do I go about getting those into the other system or going back and forth between those? Is there any continuity between the edits that I've done between both of those pieces of software?
So one thing I would caution is the way we've designed the two products, Lightroom Classic and Lightroom CC, is that you should pick one or the other. So me personally, I have all my images in Lightroom CC. They're all syncing wonderfully with the cloud. I occasionally use Lightroom Classic, but I've got sync turned off because I just don't want it interacting with cloud anymore. I use it for photo book creation or contact sheet printing. But that being said, we did know that some photographers would try Lightroom CC and say, this is interesting, but it's not ready for me. And so those images that have synced up to Creative Cloud, when they go back to Lightroom Classic, will just appear with all the edits. So that's taking care of them for them automatically.
Okay.
If I could just add one thing
please.
to that. So one of the questions that you had asked was around continuity of edits. And so they're all actually built on the same Camera Raw, I'm branded today, the technology. And so the edits that you're doing in either Camera Raw as a plugin in Photoshop, in Lightroom Classic, Lightroom CC, Lightroom on your iOS or Android, it's the same edits. So the same image that you edit in one, if you import it into the other system, all those edits will transfer and carry over.
Okay.
So it's the same technology, it's the same Camera Raw pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
We tend, we can nerd out on that topic for
Yeah.
days because that editing pipeline was started in 2003 by Thomas Knoll as part of the Camera Raw plugin. And over the last 14 years, it's just grown in power and sophistication and quality. And to me, it's another one of those moments when to see it work on a phone, to see it work on a tablet, in a web browser, and on the desktop is really exciting.
Now, for photographers that have maybe presets of select styles that they've been using for a while in Lightroom, is there any way of making those available for mobile?
Not yet. So I mean, that's something that we've heard as a heavily requested feature. It's something that we're working on. We don't have a timetable for when it's going to come out, but we know it's something that people care about, and we're working on it.
Okay. Do we have any options for creating our own presets or possibly downloading other people's presets for that? I know the ones from Lightroom Classic don't exactly import in, but are there some options for that as well?
Yeah, so you can create your own presets. You can actually copy your presets from Lightroom Classic on disk to the preset folder in Lightroom CC, so you can bring those over. And we're looking at ways to make downloadable presets and kind of make that experience a lot easier. So that's something that we're still building out, and we're continuing to invest in. So.
It's one of the most requested features when we introduced Lightroom on iOS and Android years ago was presets available synced across all platforms, and I still hear that every day, so that should give you an indication of how important we think it is.
Okay, and I know that Lightroom Classic does support video files to a certain degree as well. Is there any availability for video inside of Lightroom CC?
It's pretty similar inside of Lightroom CC in terms of you can import your videos, you can play your videos, but that's pretty much the limit of what you can do with them.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about AI. It's something that's been discussed a little bit here. You have Sensei that's a big part of this. Some of those features kind of translate into automatic tagging and things like that. So talk about kind of the machine learning aspects of this and how that integrates into the new Lightroom CC and some of the power that we're able to get from a lot of that.
Sure. I mean, I think this is probably one of the most exciting areas of Lightroom CC. And so one of the benefits of having your photos up in the cloud is that we can do things like machine learning, and we're calling that Adobe Sensei. So right now we're doing auto tagging. That's kind of the first manifestation of Sensei inside of Lightroom. We've got a long list of things that we want to do. We're basically looking at all aspects of the photography experience, whether it's capture, organizing, editing, sharing, and trying to find ways to help you become a better photographer through, smarter ways of doing things. And so one of the things that we're doing on our website, so lightroom.adobe.com, is we have a tech preview around best photos. So the general concept is that you come back from a shoot or from a trip and you've got hundreds of photos. Sometimes it's hard to figure out which ones are the best ones, right? So we're leveraging Adobe Sensei to help people identify the best photos, and you can quickly share them out or edit them at that point. And so it's kind of the first of many other features in the same vein that are kind of designed to make you and help you become a better photographer.
And this is just going to be a part of Lightroom CC, right?
Just part of Lightroom CC right now, yep.
Okay, let's talk. I wanted to get into a little bit of storage, because this is always something that we're dealing with, both on local storage on a computer and then cloud storage requirements. So locally, I know that you have some features built into Lightroom CC to help us kind of manage that actually way more effectively than it was before with sliders. So run me by some of those kind of interesting features on that.
Well, when I look at the difference between Lightroom Classic and Lightroom CC, the Classic was about managing files, folders on disk, and putting them wherever you explicitly wanted them. Lightroom CC is more about managing how much storage your photo solution is taking up on your hard drive and trying to be as efficient as possible. So when I look at it, I see, you tell Lightroom CC how much of your hard drive you want it to use up. If you say very little, we'll use things like smart previews, which are representations of the original that is in the cloud. Or I can go the other way and say, you know what, I want this whole group of images to always be available locally, because I'm going to hop on a plane for 8 hours and I need to have the full res original available to me. And so the innovation around file management, managing disk space, is going to be really interesting with Lightroom CC. And this applies to the phone as well, because again, phones, limited storage space, so what do you want to keep locally? How much cache do you want it to use? Giving, by default being very efficient, but also giving customers control when they want it.
And the part of that too, cloud storage. So data limits and things like that are kind of something that we're continually dealing with. Most people have them to some degree that we're exposed to, and then most of our cameras now are extremely high resolution. If we're shooting raw files and working in Lightroom, how is that transfer being taken place? For every image, is that potentially a 40 meg raw file that's being transferred back and forth from the desktop to the mobile?
So that's what I love about this system, and the fact that we've built it as this common editing platform. Once the original is uploaded from the phone, the tablet, the desktop to the cloud, we can be as efficient as possible. We're not pushing 40 megabyte files back and forth between these devices. We'll default to a smart preview, which is 1 megabyte. And then once a smart preview happens to be on a device, any edits made to it, we're not saving a copy and then uploading another version of it. It's just text information about the edits that flows seamlessly across all clients. So syncing happens very efficiently and very fast.
Thank you very much for talking with me. It's been a pleasure, and can't wait to see some of the new stuff that you guys have been doing.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.